All right. Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. This is the franchise sales and marketing trends edition for moving beyond the coronavirus economy series that we transitioned to here as we're moving beyond the coronavirus economy. And this session is all about what's happening in the greater economy and in franchising and how that impacts what you're doing for your business, whether you are a company that's thinking about franchising, whether you're an existing franchisor, maybe a franchise broker or a franchise salesperson. This is relevant information, and we've decided to do this every month to give you trends on what's happening and what's going on. My name's Tom DuFore. I'm the CEO of Big Sky Franchise Team, and we're just going to talk through this data. And the point to here is just to make sure that you're looking at it, and we're going to move quickly. We've got a relatively small group here. So if you find yourself in a situation where you'd like to ask specific questions or talk through things, please let me know. But I will be sharing my screen and going over some interesting and really exciting economic data. So this is the highest reading in almost 40 years. In almost 40 years. That is significant. So it just gives you an idea of the robustness of what's happening and what's going on. And the thing that I like about manufacturing is it's a really great, in my opinion, leading indicator of what's coming next. 6, 12, 18, 24 months down the line. This is a great trend for us to see. Even in 2019, I know we talk about this every report, but you can see the decline happening here in manufacturing that occurred in 2019. And then the pandemic hit, but there were leading indicators. Look at this, 6 months before the pandemic hit, it looked like manufacturing was maybe coming back, but it looked like the economy was maybe a little weak anyway leading into it. Now, this is the same report just for the services industry. So this is the Institute for Supply Management, their Purchasing Managers Index for the service sector. So what is really significant about this is, if I'll highlight this line right here, this is the PMI's all-time high. It is the highest reading on record for the Purchasing Managers Index in the services industry. So this is significant. This means services are spending, people are doing things in the services, and which is the largest sector in the U.S. economy. So this is a big deal. It's the highest number since October of 2018, when it registered its previous high of 60.9%. So this is the highest on record ever. And it's not like this report was created 5 years ago. I mean, this has been going on for over a decade. So I think it's really, really critical for us just to know that these are all great leading signs. And then the last one here that the Institute for Supply Management puts out is the hospital index that they started. And so this one shows still 58.8%. Remember, any number above 50 means it's growth oriented. It's indicating growth. So it doesn't have those huge highs like we see in the services and manufacturing, but this is growing. So I think this is another great leading indicator for us. So just some food for thought as you're thinking about it, information to maybe be sharing with your prospects and people that you're speaking with. So let's jump into the Franchise Insights report. So I really like these reports. So this is the March Startup Sentiment Index. This came out, I believe, yesterday. So this is as current as it gets for this most current report. And what they were asking is, the question that was asked is, now a good time to start a business? And 69.3% in March, 69.3% of the respondents said that they agree or strongly agree with that. So that's a high number. And you can, if we trace along to the left here, it's the highest number since February of 2020. So right before the pandemic took hold, and then you see the drop here about now being a good time or not. So I think that's a really interesting report. And here is the full report. So it was April 7th. So that was, I'm looking at my clock here. So that was 2 days ago. Today's the 9th. So that was 2 days ago that this report came out. And so we talked through this here. Outlook on business conditions continues to improve. So I think that this is really interesting. So business conditions seen as getting better. So I know that this is kind of messy. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so it's a little bigger on your screen. But this should show here that this green bar is asking, are business conditions getting better or much better? So you look at this green bar. This is the one we want to follow. Is it getting better or much better? That's some pretty, I think that tells us that there's some serious optimism that's going on with prospective business owners. These are folks that are thinking about opening a business, whether they're starting their own business or buying a franchise. This is the people that are thinking about it right now. And it is the highest, look at you look at the number here. It's 57.7% have that they're looking at. You can follow the green bar. It was high in April of 2020 here, that it peaked based on this chart here, but you can see that it's about the same. And look at worse or much worse. The worse or much worse is very low. So that's the other thing you can take a look at. Outside of February and January and February of 2020, it's the lowest number. It's that orange color there in the group. So again, just I think an overall good sign. How likely are you to start a business now compared to 3 months ago? So much or more likely is the bright green, about the same as the dark green. Less likely is the blue, and much less likely is the red. So I think this is a really neat indicator as well. You see it's trending up here again. So optimism is high, and I think that's a good thing. Startup interest 1 to 3 months out, it remains strong. It was the highest it's ever been on record last month for February, but now for March, it's still extremely high. As we take a look at people who want to open startup interest in 1 to 3 months, people that are interested in opening up their business in this month. I mean, look at, it's very high. That means if you have, what this means for you is if you have buyers in your pipeline, they're thinking about buying today or in the next few weeks. They're not thinking about 6 months out. Some of them might be, but the more likely scenario is they're looking to buy right now. And even if we look at that 4 to 6 month window, it's still the majority of candidates are considering that. Look at this. Combined, 53.7% of respondents expressed intent to start or buy their business within the next 3 months. So that means more than half of your people who are interested right now are looking to do that now, basically this quarter, right now. They're looking to do it. So keep that in mind as you are talking to your candidates. Outlook on funding is still the number one concern that people opening up a business still have. That's the funding is their number one concern. How are they going to afford to do this? So it's top of mind for prospects. Anyway, I think that this is just a good snapshot overview. And going on, this is a question: how does COVID-19 affect your interest in business ownership? And so this is an impact. Here's March, this yellow bar here. So we can see this on the far right column. I know this is a little busy of a chart, but if you want to compare to see how things are going. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into the next chart I want to go over, which is talking about a survey that shows increasing preference for franchise purchase among options for business ownership. So this question asked people that were looking to open a business? Are you looking to buy an existing business? 32% responded that's what they're interested in. Start from scratch, 51.7% responded with that, or buy a franchise, 65.7% indicated that. So you can see, obviously, the respondents had a choice. They could choose multiple areas. But let's just take a look and compare these over time that Franchise Insights provides to us. So you can see the blue here is talking about when there's a preference to franchise over a startup or franchise over buying an existing business. So what's interesting is that people are looking to buy a franchise. What's grown here, this red line, they're looking to buy a franchise over buying an existing business. So if we zoom out for a second and say, okay, well, what's going on in the world? Why would someone maybe be doing that or thinking that? Well, in my opinion, the businesses that are for sale today are probably distressed properties. They're distressed from their businesses that are in one of two camps. Either they're distressed from the pandemic that's hit them, so they're listed for sale trying to get out, and that buyer probably doesn't want to buy into something that's unknown, or they might be doing extremely well and they have a high asking price. Because if they're going to sell their business when it's doing well, then you probably need to have that high asking price. So if you think about that preference of buying a franchise over an existing business, that is probably the reason why that's growing right now, at least just from my assessment. You can see this red line growing here over the last few months. And even now, you might have a bunch of inventory. And even if the business that's for sale is not distressed, the other question that the buyer is going to have is, why are you selling? The doubt of the pandemic is going to be in that buyer's mind, regardless of what's going on. I mean, I'm just talking out loud, but to me, that just seems to make sense. Again, that's my opinion, but just in thinking about that, that would make sense to me. And you can see this franchise over a startup's been pretty steady. It had a negative number there, but again, just some interesting points of note. Here is, we're going to jump into franchising data by category. So where are the highest percentage of franchise inquiries? Which sectors or segments are they coming in for over the last 90 days? So basically, this is from the first of the year to the end of March. Where are they coming from? So home services takes the cake again. Home services jumped to the top during the pandemic, and that still remains strong. 22.5% of all franchise inquiries are going to home services. So what does that mean? Well, if you're in the home services business, you probably saw a huge influx in leads coming in. Or if you're thinking about franchising your business and you're in home services, now is probably as good of a time as any to consider it, because you have a lot of buyers that are interested in this type of business. Number two is senior and healthcare at 14.7%. Then we have business services at 10.5%, which is still a high number. Food and restaurant is back up. It's back over 10%. So, clearly food is making a comeback here, and folks are seeing what's going on. Cleaning and maintenance at 10.2%. Financial services, 5.3%. Health and fitness is down at 4.5%, automotive 4.2%, child-related 3.8%, and pet services 2.7%. So as you're thinking about or taking a look at this, one way to look at it is saying, well, where does my industry fit into this? And then out of those percentage of leads coming my way, what should I expect? How many leads should I expect to come in, conversions, level of interest? So this is talking about the biggest category gainers over the last 90 days. So some of these have huge gains because they were down really low, but travel and lodging had a huge gain. Beauty, education, vending, food and restaurants, sports and recreation, child related, health and fitness, business services, staff and personnel are the leading growth getters for a percentage change over the last year. One other thing I'd like to talk through from a high level, I should have done this beforehand, is just talking about the coronavirus. And, this is talking about navigating it. So this is the United States. This is literally pulled up within the last hour from worldometers.info/coronavirus. You can see it up top here, and what that is. And this is the 7-day rolling average moving average of daily new cases in the US. And you can literally almost see to the day where I always think it's interesting when the vaccine started getting implemented. And it's, right here around January 11th or so, January 10th, 11th, 12th. I mean, you can kind of see it starting to happen. And boom, as more and more people get vaccinated, vaccinating high risk groups, the seniors, 65 plus. And a lot of it keeps going down, and it's kind of leveled off here, pretty flat for the last, roughly month or so, or 6 weeks. And then the one I really want to take a look at is deaths. Now, certainly, it's obviously morbid, but we want to know, hey, what's going on? Even if people still if cases are happening, are people still dying in the same way that they were before? That we don't want that to happen. So you take a look. Here's our 7-day mean average, and it's just been a continuous, slow, steady decline. Almost every week, it's been declining. Little, but I just think that's an important note to be talking about. So I know there's a lot of fear out there, and hopefully this has been instilling confidence in folks who All right. So I'm not sure where I lost everyone, but hopefully, hopefully we're all back. The last thing I wanted to share with you and talk about is what's going on for unemployment. And this is through the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. They released this. I think this is a really interesting chart. And what this chart is showing is the unemployment falls as job openings increase. So look at the level of unemployment continuing to drop here versus the number of job openings. So see, the job openings are bouncing back. And so that gap is getting smaller. And I hope and I believe that it's because more people are getting hired, and more job openings are happening, and that it's less attributed to people just falling out of the job market. So anyway, this is a good indicator. I know jobs increased at a significant rate. Over 1 million new jobs were added, my understanding, in March. And so it has surpassed all expectations. So this is all a very, very good indication. So with that being said, for those of you that have hung with me here, I appreciate you dealing with my technical difficulties and Zoom just having a mind of its own today. Just kind of kicked me out a couple of times. I'd love to field any questions, comments, discussion that we might be having as it relates to some of this information we covered today. So feel free to raise your hand, or and I can unmute you and we can have a conversation here. Or type your question in the chat box here. I'll type see if we can type a question into our chat box as well. Well, I'm not seeing anything come through. If there are any other, oh wait, here we go. Maybe one. Here we go. Let's see. Can we quote you on these stats to prospective candidates? Sure. I mean, the data is just getting pulled directly from these data sources. So if you'd like to attribute it to this webinar, that would be fine. Our data sources are through the Supply Management Institute and the franchiseinsights.com, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and a few other sources. So be happy to. That would be fine. Thank you. Great question. Let's see. Let's see. Karen, did you have any other questions related to that? I can unmute you here. Maybe. Oh, there we go. There we go.
There we go. I like these statistics as a third party validation. It's not me saying, hey, this is a good time to do this. And so I like your opinion on what's the best way to actually use them.
Yeah. So I would say we do publish this as a, we'll publish this over the weekend or by Monday or Tuesday as a rebroadcast. Usually it gets posted on YouTube. So you can pull that up and reference the, the data here that we shared in the presentation. Or if you'd like, as you go through it, you can pull up the data and just share some of the links with the candidates as well as you're talking to them, so that they can review it and assess it, or watch the presentation, however you'd like to see fit. Absolutely.
I think that's a good way to get people to think outside the box and to see that their decisions can be influenced by the larger economy, and either take comfort or be scared by that. It gives them some validation.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great question. And it also can help take some of the emotional or fear or concern for a candidate out of their decision process. Like, you want, of course, that emotion is going to be there, but if you can help give them information to make a decision with relevant data. I mean, this is very macro information that it does impact us in some way, shape, or form, whether we want to admit it or not. It's it's an aggregate of what's been happening.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Any other questions here before we wrap up for the day? Well, I thank you all so much again for tuning in. We will rebroadcast this and we'll send a link out. But if you miss it, you can see it on our YouTube page, or go to our website, go to free resources, go to bigskyfranchiseteam.com, free resources, and you'll see this listed along with other past live webinars that we have done. This is episode, I think, number 52. So we've 52 weeks of sharing information. So you can follow our podcasts, and we greatly appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend, folks.